Every legendary career needs an ending that transcends nostalgia and becomes something meaningful for the future. When John Cena tapped out to Gunther's sleeper hold in Washington, D.C., thousands of fans voiced their disapproval with boos that echoed through the Capital One Arena. Social media erupted with debates about whether WWE had disrespected one of the greatest wrestlers of all time by having him lose in his final match. But here's the truth that casual fans are missing entirely. This wasn't about giving Cena a fairy tale send-off with fireworks and confetti. This was about understanding what legacy actually means in professional wrestling, and WWE just delivered a masterclass in long-term storytelling that most people won't fully appreciate for years to come. Think about what happens when legends retire with perfect records. They walk away undefeated, the crowd cheers, and then what? The business moves forward without any momentum transfer. The torch doesn't get passed because nobody actually held it in the transition. Cena losing to Gunther wasn't a mistake or an oversight by creative leadership. It was the most selfless act a performer of his caliber could offer to the industry that made him a household name. This moment wasn't designed to make fans feel good in the immediate aftermath. It was engineered to create something far more valuable. A genuine villain with undeniable credibility who can carry WWE programming for the next 5 years. Professional wrestling operates on a currency that mainstream sports don't fully understand. It's not about wins and losses in the traditional sense. It's about heat, legitimacy, and the ability to make audiences invest emotionally in storylines. Gunther defeating Cena in his retirement match gives him something money cannot buy and championship reigns cannot replicate. He becomes the man who ended an era, the villain who robbed fans of their storybook ending, the competitor who proved himself capable of defeating a legend when it mattered most. That kind of credibility becomes the foundation for years of compelling television, provided WWE's creative team doesn't squander the opportunity they've been handed. Look beyond the main event for a moment and you'll see the broader strategic vision at play throughout the entire Saturday night's main event card. This wasn't structured as a nostalgia tour with Cena's greatest rivals showing up for one more round of applause. Instead, WWE positioned emerging talent like Oba Femi and Sol Ruca alongside established stars, using Cena's retirement as a platform to accelerate the next generation's trajectory. When Femi went toe-to-toe with Cody Rhodes, audiences witnessed a physical specimen who moves and performs like someone WWE can build around for the next decade. When Ruca showcased her athleticism against Bayley, she demonstrated that the women's division has another potential cornerstone performer ready to step into the spotlight. The business model of professional wrestling demands constant renewal. Fans who complain about Cena losing are essentially advocating for a model where the present generation sacrifices nothing for the future, where nostalgia takes precedence over sustainability. That approach might satisfy audiences in the short term, but it creates a catastrophic problem down the road when those legends are truly gone and there's nobody positioned to fill the void they leave behind. WWE learned this lesson the hard way during various transitional periods throughout their history when they failed to properly elevate new stars and found themselves scrambling to create main event talent overnight. Cena's willingness to tap out carries profound significance when you consider his entire body of work. Throughout his career, submission losses were incredibly rare moments that WWE reserved for storylines where they needed to create maximum impact. Having him tap out in his final match wasn't a random booking decision. It was a deliberate choice designed to put an exclamation point on Gunther's dominance and make his character feel genuinely dangerous moving forward. Every time Gunther locks in that sleeper hold in future matches, commentators will reference the fact that it was effective enough to make John Cena surrender in his retirement bout. That's storytelling capital that continues paying dividends long after the initial event concludes. The real test begins now for both Gunther and WWE's creative leadership. They've been handed a golden opportunity to establish him as the company's premier antagonist, someone who generates genuine animosity from audiences because he represents everything fans resent about villains in combat sports. He's methodical, brutal, and apparently willing to crush dreams without hesitation. The creative team needs to lean into that heat rather than trying to soften it or turn him into an anti-hero that audiences might eventually cheer. Keep him aligned with authority figures, have him dismiss fan favorites with calculated precision, and build him as someone who represents the cold, calculating future rather than the passionate, fighting spirit of the past that Cena embodied. Wrestling history shows us that the performers who retire with perfect records often fade from relevance quickly because their stories concluded without contributing to the ongoing narrative. Compare that to legends who use their final matches to elevate rising stars, and you'll find that their legacies actually grow stronger over time because they become part of other wrestlers' origin stories. Decades from now, when people discuss Gunther's Hall of Fame career, they'll mention that his run toward legendary status began when he defeated John Cena in a retirement match. That association keeps Cena's name relevant in WWE conversations long after his in-ring career concluded, which is far more valuable than a feel-good victory that would have been forgotten within weeks. Some fans argue that Cena deserved better, that a performer of his magnitude should have been granted the courtesy of going out victorious. But consider what deserving better actually means in this context. Cena spent his entire career working to build WWE's brand, create memorable moments for fans, and establish himself as one of the industry's most dependable performers. Doesn't it make sense that his final significant contribution would be using his star power to create opportunities for the next generation rather than simply basking in one last moment of personal glory? The man himself clearly understood this, which is why he agreed to the finish and performed it with the kind of emotional intensity that made the moment resonate. The broader picture reveals something fascinating about WWE's current approach to talent development. They're not waiting for legends to naturally age out before positioning new stars. They're actively using high-profile moments like Cena's retirement to accelerate that process, ensuring that emerging performers receive exposure and credibility boosts that might otherwise take years to accumulate. This approach creates a sustainable ecosystem where established names understand their role includes mentoring and elevating successors, while rising talent receives opportunities to prove themselves on stages that command maximum attention from wrestling audiences worldwide. What happened in Washington, D.C. wasn't a disrespectful ending to a legendary career. It was a veteran performer demonstrating one final time why he became a legend in the first place, by understanding that his responsibility to the industry extended beyond his own moment in the spotlight. The controversy itself becomes part of the story's power, because it means audiences genuinely cared about the outcome rather than treating Cena's retirement as a ceremonial formality. That emotional investment is exactly what professional wrestling aims to generate, and WWE succeeded in creating a moment that will be analyzed, debated, and remembered far longer than a predictable victory would have been. The question now isn't whether WWE made the right decision with Cena's retirement match. The question is whether they'll capitalize on the foundation they've built by booking Gunther consistently as the villain this moment demands he become. They've created the perfect storm for compelling storytelling, with a newly credentialized antagonist who audiences have legitimate reasons to despise. Don't let fan sentiment in the immediate aftermath cloud the strategic brilliance at work here. Sometimes the best decisions in professional wrestling are the ones that make audiences uncomfortable, because that discomfort means they're genuinely invested in the narrative rather than passively consuming entertainment. WWE understood that principle when booking Cena's final match, and time will prove their choice was the right one for the business, for Gunther, and ultimately for preserving John Cena's legacy as someone who remained selfless even in his final moment under the lights.